The uninvited. The text arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know the exact time because I was editing photos from a wedding I'd shot that weekend. A bride and groom who'd renewed their vows after 25 years. The wife had cried when she saw her husband waiting at the end of the aisle. Same man, different lifetime. I'd captured that moment. The trembling hand over her mouth, the absolute certainty in his eyes. It was the kind of image that made people believe in permanence. My phone buzzed. My sister Rachel's name lit up the screen. Hey, so about mom and dad's anniversary party on the 15th. It's family only, right? Just wanted to make sure you understood. No hard feelings. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. The bride on my computer screen smiled at her husband. 25 years. My parents were celebrating 30. I did the math automatically, uselessly. I was 30 years old. I had existed for all but the first 5 minutes of their marriage. I typed, "What do you mean family only?" The 3 dots appeared immediately. Rachel had been waiting. You know, close family. It's intimate. They want to keep it small. Rachel, I'm their daughter. Wendy, come on. You know how they feel. After everything, it's just easier this way. After everything. I sat in the blue light of my laptop, surrounded by images of other people's joy, and felt something crack open inside my chest. Not my heart, that would be too romantic. This was structural. This was a load-bearing wall finally giving way. The first time I gave my parents money was 23. Dad's truck had died. Genuinely died, not just broken down. And he needed a new one for work. Construction doesn't wait for payment plans. Mom called me crying. I just sold my first photo series to a small gallery in Portland. $800. It felt like a fortune. I gave them $600. You're saving us, Mom said. You're absolutely saving us. I felt 10 feet tall. At 24, it was their mortgage payment. At 25, Rachel's car insurance after her DUI. At 26, the roof. At 27, Rachel's community college tuition that she never finished. At 28, Dad's medical bills. At 29, Rachel's wedding, the whole thing, dress to cake to honeymoon in Cancun. I photographed it for free, obviously. Family discount. Last year, when I turned 30, they forgot my birthday entirely. Rachel called 3 days late. Sorry, we've just been so busy with the kids. I'd sent each of her kids a $100 savings bond when they were born. But these are just facts. Facts are easy. Facts don't live in your throat like something swallowed wrong. I called Rachel at 7 a.m. the next morning. She answered on the fourth ring, voice thick with sleep and irritation. Wendy, Jesus, what? Explain it to me, I said. I was already dressed, already drinking coffee I couldn't taste. Explain how I'm not family. A sigh. I heard her husband say something in the background. She moved, a door closed. You're being dramatic. I'm being excluded. It's not like that. Look, you've been distant, you know? You moved to Eugene, you barely visit, you're always working. Mom and Dad want people there who actually show up. My hand tightened around my phone. I was there for Thanksgiving. For 4 hours, you had a work thing. I had a wedding to shoot the next day. I drove 3 hours each way to be there for 4 hours. And you were on your phone half the time. I was texting a client whose venue had flooded. I was putting out fires so I could pay my rent and have enough left over to send Mom the $200 she'd asked for to help with utilities. I didn't say this. Rachel wouldn't have heard it anyway. Who's invited? I asked instead. Mom, Dad, me, Connor, the kids, Aunt Marie, Aunt Jess, Uncle Rob, the Hendersons. You know, they're friends from church. The Hendersons. I felt like I was choking. The neighbors are invited, but I'm not. They're like family to Mom and Dad. Rachel. Oh my God, Wendy, why do you always make everything about you? This is their day, their marriage. If they don't want you there, maybe ask yourself why. The line went dead. I sat in my apartment. my small, carefully maintained apartment that I could barely afford, and looked around at my life. Framed photos on the walls, all my own work, a camera bag worth more than my car, a business I'd built from nothing, from borrowed equipment and Craigslist gigs and sleeping in my car between shoots. I'd sent my family over $40,000 in the past 7 years. I'd been uninvited to a cake and coffee reception at a church basement. Something released in me. Not anger yet. Something colder. I spent the morning working. I had a newborn shoot at 10, a family session at 2. I smiled and directed and captured moments of belonging. Look at each other. Hold her close. Now laugh. Think of something funny. Perfect. Between sessions, sitting in my car in a Safeway parking lot, I ate a protein bar and opened my laptop. I'd been building my social media presence for 2 years, mostly photography tips, behind-the-scenes content, the occasional personal story. I had about 8,000 followers, not viral famous, but a real audience. People who engaged, who cared, who came back. I opened a blank text document and started typing. Not the facts, not the timeline. That's not how you make people feel something. I wrote about the moment, the text at 11:47 p.m., the wedding photos on my screen, the way I'd looked at my phone and felt my entire history recontextualize itself in an instant. I wrote about being 7 years old, bringing home a drawing from school, and mom hanging it on the fridge for exactly 1 day before Rachel's spelling test took its place. I wrote about being 12, saving my allowance for 3 months to buy dad a power drill for his birthday, and him saying, "Oh, thanks, sweetheart," before Rachel announced she'd made the cheerleading squad, and the rest of dinner was about that. I wrote about being 17, getting a full scholarship to art school in California, and dad saying, "That's great, honey," and mom saying, "But Rachel's going through a really hard time right now with Brad, so let's not make a big thing of this." I wrote about money. The $600 that became $6,000, that became $16,000, that became $43,000 over 7 years. I wrote about Rachel's wedding. I wrote about the mortgage payment I'd covered while Rachel and her family took a vacation. I wrote about the text, "Family only, no hard feelings." I wrote, "I don't think I understood until this moment that I've been auditioning my whole life for a part I was never going to get. That to my family, I'm not a person, I'm a resource. And now that they've extracted everything they needed, they're letting me know I can stop showing up." I wrote for 3 hours. When I finished, it was 4,200 words. I read it twice, edited nothing, and posted it. The first comments came within minutes. "Jesus Christ, this is my family. I felt this in my bones. You're not alone. You're so not alone." By evening, it had been shared 900 times. By midnight, 3,000. The next morning, I woke to 47 missed calls and a phone that had essentially stopped functioning from notifications. Rachel texted, "What the fuck did you do?" Not a question, an accusation. Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I turned my phone off. I made coffee, fed my cat, took a shower. Normal things. Structural things. The world hadn't ended. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were hundreds of texts. Rachel, Mom, Dad, Aunt Marie, people I hadn't spoken to in years, cousins and family friends, and my high school boyfriend's mother. All of them with opinions about what I'd done. But there were other messages too, from people I'd never met. "Thank you for writing this. I thought I was crazy. I've been the formerly ATM too, 30 years. I'm done. Your words helped me understand my own life." A literary agent. "Would you be interested in expanding this into a book?" A podcast producer. "We'd love to have you on to discuss family dynamics and financial abuse." 3 different news sites asking for interviews. I sat on my couch and read through them all, every single one. And somewhere around message 200, reading a woman's story about being excluded from her sister's wedding after paying for her sister's divorce lawyer, I started laughing. Not happy laughter, the other kind. The kind that sounds like crying's opposite, but comes from the same place. Rachel showed up at my apartment that afternoon. I watched through the peephole as she knocked, waited, knocked again. She looked tired. Good, I thought, and felt nothing. She knocked a third time. Wendy, I know you're in there. Your car's here. I opened the door but didn't step back to let her in. You need to take it down, she said. No greeting, no preamble. No. Wendy, Mom's getting calls. People at church saw it. Aunt Marie is hysterical. You've humiliated the entire family. No, I said again. I told my story. That's all. Your story? You aired our private business to the entire fucking internet. My private business, my money, my exclusion. You're being vindictive. I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. Maybe for the first time in years. She was 32. 2 kids. A husband with a decent job. She'd never had to scramble. Never had to choose between rent and food. Never had to take a wedding gig on Christmas Day because it paid triple. She'd never had to. Because I had. Because every time she fell, I was there with a net made of my own stability. Do you know, I said quietly, that I've never once asked you for money? What does that have to do with in 7 years? Not once. Not even to borrow $50 for groceries. Do you know how many times you've asked me? She flushed. We were struggling. You went to Cancun for your anniversary last year. That was a gift from Connor's parents, while you owed me $1,100. Her jaw set. I didn't come here to talk about money. Why did you come here? To tell you to take down the post and apologize to Mom and Dad. Or what? She blinked. What? Or what, Rachel? What happens if I don't? You'll exclude me from family events? Oh, wait. You're acting like a child. I'm acting like someone who finally understands the game. You know what the worst part is? I felt eerily calm. I would have forgiven everything. The money, the forgotten birthdays, the way you've all treated me like an afterthought. I would have shown up to that anniversary party with a smile and a gift and taken photos for free. All you had to do was invite me. That's all. And you couldn't even do that. It wasn't personal. I laughed. That same broken glass sound from before. It was the most personal thing you've ever done. So this is revenge, destroying our family's reputation? I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending. She stared at me for a long moment. Then, Mom's right about you. You've always been selfish. I closed the door in her face. Gently. Almost politely. I heard her stand there for a few seconds before walking away. The post went fully viral 2 days later, picked up by a major news outlet, then another, then a daytime talk show. Suddenly, my story wasn't just mine. It was everyone's. It was every person who'd been taken for granted, every sibling who'd been second, every child who'd been treated like a wallet with legs. The messages kept coming, thousands of them, people sharing their own stories, their own exclusions. A man whose family had asked him to skip Thanksgiving to make room for his brother's new girlfriend. A woman whose parents had borrowed $50,000 for her sister's medical bills, then demanded she forgive the loan because family doesn't keep score. Family doesn't keep score, except they do. They always do. They just don't like when you start counting. Mom left a voicemail on day 3. Her voice was shaking. I don't understand why you're doing this to us. We gave you everything. We raised you, we loved you, and this is how you repay us? By making us look like monsters to strangers? Wendy, please. People are saying terrible things. They're calling me a narcissist. Me, your mother, the woman who carried you for 9 months. Please take it down. Please. If you ever loved us, you'll take it down. I saved it. Not to be cruel, just to remember. Because even now, even in her hurt, it was about her reputation, her pain, what I was doing to her. Not once, what did we do to you? Not once, I'm sorry. The anniversary party happened on the 15th. I know because Rachel posted photos. Mom and Dad cutting a cake, the Hendersons smiling with champagne, Rachel's kids in their fancy clothes, Aunt Marie dabbing her eyes with a tissue. It looked nice, intimate, exactly what they wanted. I spent that day in my apartment, working on the book proposal the literary agent had requested. Chapter 1, the text. Chapter 2, the money. Chapter 3, the pattern. My phone rang around 8 p.m. Dad. I answered. I'm not sure why. Hi, Dad. Silence. Then, your mother's crying. I heard her voicemail. This has gone too far, Wendy. Has it? You've made your point. Now it's time to be an adult and apologize. Apologize for what? You know damn well for what. His voice was hard. This was Dad in construction boss mode, the voice that made subcontractors scramble, for embarrassing us, for lying about us online. What did I lie about? You made it sound like we don't love you. Do you? Jesus Christ, what kind of question is that? A simple one. Do you love me, Dad? Of course I love you. You're my daughter. Then why wasn't I invited to your anniversary party? Silence. It was family only, he finally said. I'm your family. It's complicated. It's not complicated. It's simple. You didn't want me there. That's fine. You don't have to want me there, but don't call me and ask me to apologize for telling the truth about it. Your truth isn't the whole truth. It's my truth. That makes it whole enough. He exhaled, a sharp, frustrated sound. Your mother and I have tried with you, Wendy. We have. But you've always been difficult, always on the outside looking in, acting like we owe you something. There it was. The thing I'd always known but never heard spoken. Always difficult, always outside, always demanding something. What? Recognition? Basic inclusion? Love that didn't come with conditions and invoices? You're right. I have been looking in from the outside. I'm done doing that now. Meaning what? Meaning I'm closing the window. You don't have to exclude me anymore. I'm excluding myself. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. I'm being clear. Don't call me unless it's an emergency. Don't ask me for money. Don't show up at my apartment. And definitely don't expect me at Christmas. Wendy! I love you, Dad. I do. But I don't like you very much. And I don't think you like me either. So let's just stop. You can't mean that. I do. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. But underneath the adrenaline was something else. Something light. Something that felt almost like relief. The book deal came through in November. 6 figures. 2 books. The first about family systems and scapegoating. The second about financial abuse among relatives. A therapist reached out wanting to use my story in her practice. A nonprofit asked me to speak at their conference about boundaries. A documentary filmmaker wanted to interview me. My business exploded. People hired me specifically because of the story, because they trusted someone who understood complicated families, who could capture the truth of relationships, not just the performance of them. I moved out of my small apartment into a house with a real yard and a dedicated studio space. I adopted a second cat. I started dating someone I met at a gallery opening, a social worker who understood the weight of family dysfunction, who didn't think I was being dramatic or vindictive or any of the other things my family had called me. Christmas came. My phone stayed quiet. Rachel sent a card, just a card, no note. The kind you buy in bulk and sign without thinking. I threw it away. In March, a year after the text, Mom had a health scare. Nothing life-threatening, a hospital stay, some tests. Everything came back fine. Rachel called to tell me. I thought you should know. Is she okay? Yeah, but she was asking for you. I felt it. That old pull, that old program running. Mom needs you, drop everything, come running. I'm glad she's okay, I said. Silence. That's it? That's it. Wendy, she's our mother. She's your mother, I said. She stopped being mine when she decided I wasn't family. You're never going to let that go, are you? Rachel, I have let it go. That's what you don't understand. I've let go of all of it. The hurt, the anger, the hope that you'll suddenly understand what you did. I've let go of the family I thought I had because it never existed. Not for me. That's really sad. It is, I agreed, but it's not tragedy. It's just truth. She hung up. I went back to editing photos from an engagement shoot. A couple who looked at each other like they couldn't believe their luck. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. The post, the public breaking. I tell them the truth. Every life has a before and after. Mine just happened to have a text message at the hinge point. Before, I was a supporting character in my own story. Someone who existed to make other people's lives easier, smoother, more comfortable. I was a resource to be managed, a problem to be worked around. After, I became the main character. Not because I was brave or strong or any of the other things people called me. Just because I stopped pretending. I stopped performing. I stopped showing up to a party where I'd never really been invited. The wound didn't heal. I don't know if wounds like that do, but it closed. It scarred. And the scar tissue, I learned, is tougher than the original skin. My family hasn't changed. They still don't understand what they did wrong. They think I overreacted. They tell people I'm troubled, that I made a big deal out of nothing, that they tried everything with me. Maybe they believe it. Probably they do. People rarely see themselves as the villains in their own stories. But here's what I know now, what I didn't know at 11:47 p.m. on that Tuesday night. You can't make someone love you the way you need to be loved. You can't negotiate for basic respect. You can't earn your way into unconditional acceptance. And sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is stop trying. Last week, I photographed a family reunion. 4 generations, grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids, cousins, everyone. The grandmother pulled me aside at one point. Make sure you get everyone, she said. Everyone, even the ones who aren't blood, even the partners who just started dating, even the baby who won't remember this day. I want them all in the photo because they're all family. I got everyone. And when I showed her the final image on my camera screen, she touched the display gently, tears in her eyes. Look at that, she whispered. Everyone we love in one place. I thought about that text message. Family only. I thought about the people who weren't in my family photo, who'd excluded themselves through their own exclusion of me. And I thought, this is what it looks like when family means everyone we love. Not everyone we're related to, not everyone who shares our blood or our last name or our history. Everyone we love. The second book comes out next month. It's dedicated to everyone who's ever been uninvited to the party. Everyone who's been told they're too sensitive, too difficult, too much. Everyone who's felt like a ghost at their own family's table. It won't change my family. They'll probably never read it. That's okay. It's not for them. It never was. It's for the woman who texted me last week. I just told my parents I won't be their ATM anymore. Your story gave me the courage. It's for the man who said, I'm 47 and I just realized I'm allowed to stop chasing my family's approval. It's for every person who thought they were alone in this particular kind of hurt. You're not alone. You're not dramatic. You're not vindictive. You're just done. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's the beginning. I keep that first text message saved on my phone, not to torture myself, just to remember. Just wanted to make sure you understood. No hard feelings. I understand now. Finally, completely. No hard feelings because feelings require caring. And you can't care forever about people who've made it clear they don't care about you. My name is Wendy Cole. I'm 31 years old. I'm a photographer from Eugene, Oregon. And I am, finally, fully family enough for myself. That's my story. That's my truth. That's my whole truth. And I'm not sorry for telling it. Not even a little bit.